campaign that are important. Millions of people were introduced to the philosophy of liberty, many of them very young people, a lot of young people here today. Many people were trained in political activism. A lot of older people like me got hope seeing so much new blood coming into the movement, because it's easy to get discouraged when you see the enemy scoring win after win. But perhaps the most important legacy, I think, of the Ron Paul campaign is what's happening here today. Ron Paul has increased the awareness of many people about the central role of the Federal Reserve System in creating economic havoc by enabling meddling, intervention with other countries, and war with other countries. And that's why we're here today, is to put a stop to that. Don't be discouraged there's such a small number here today, because last year there was nobody here. There's a principle of planting a seed. In fact, as I understand it, what's happening today is happening in 39 cities around the country. And for a week's worth of organizing, this isn't too bad, I would say. Significantly today, November 22nd, also marks the 45th anniversary of the assassination of John F. Kennedy in Dallas, Texas. I still remember hearing that announcement over the classroom PA when I was in my high school English class. A lot of people may not know it, and I just learned it a few years ago, but President Kennedy had spoken out against the Federal Reserve System, and it even passed Executive Order 1110 on June the 4th of 1963, just a mere 5 months before his assassination. And that executive order would strip the Federal Reserve of its power to create money and then loan it to the U.S. government at interest. I was listening on the radio the other day and heard that even several $billions in U.S. Treasury notes, not these bogus Federal Reserve notes that we have in our pockets, but actual U.S. Treasury notes, were issued that the government did not have to pay interest on. It may very well be that President Kennedy's naive belief that he was the head guy in this country when he took on the Federal Reserve System led directly to his death. Other likely suspects would be the CIA, that he talked about dismantling the military-industrial complex, didn't like his idea of ending the War of Vietnam before it became such a tragedy. And of course, he and his brother were cracking down on organized crime. So just like so many things happen, there's probably a converging of mutual interests to pull off that assassination. Now, why did Kennedy do this? It may be for a number of reasons, but he might have read the words of Louis McFadden, who is chairman of the House Banking Committee. He said this in 1932, entered this into the congressional record. Congressman McFadden said, "Mr. Chairman, this is 1932, folks. The Depression had just started. But 1932, well over 70 years ago, he said, we have in this country one of the most corrupt institutions the world has ever known. I refer to the Federal Reserve Board and the Federal Reserve Banks. The Federal Reserve Board has cheated the government of the United States and the people of the United States out of enough money to pay off the national debt." This is over 70 years ago, folks. The depredations and the iniquities of the Federal Reserve Board and the Federal Reserve Banks acting together have cost this country enough money to pay off the national debt several times over. This evil institution has impoverished and ruined the people of the United States, has bankrupted itself, and has practically bankrupted the government. Said we need to outlaw the corrupt practices of the moneyed vultures who control it. Or maybe Kennedy read the words of Woodrow Wilson a few years after he helped push through the Federal Reserve Act in 1913. And Wilson said this, much before McFadden. He said, "I am a most unhappy man. I have unwittingly ruined my country. A great industrial nation is controlled by its system of credit. Our Our system of credit is concentrated. The growth of the nation, therefore, and all of our activities are in the hands of a few men. We have come to be one of the worst ruled, one of the most completely controlled and dominated governments in the civilized world. No longer a government by free opinion, no longer a government